The night I realized my husband was in love with my mother, something inside me went completely silent. It wasn't screaming. It wasn't dramatic. It was just quiet, like when a glass falls and shatters, and for a second the whole room holds its breath. It started with a phone call at 2:13 in the morning. His phone lit up in the dark, and I saw her name glowing on the screen. Mom. I thought something terrible had happened. I sat up, my heart racing, already preparing myself for bad news. But he didn't look panicked. He looked careful. He answered in a whisper and walked out of the bedroom. When he came back, I asked, "Is she okay?" He said, "She just couldn't sleep." At 2:13 a.m. I wanted to believe that. My mother had always been dramatic, always needing attention. After my father passed, she leaned on me a lot. And when I married Sammy 8 years ago, she leaned on him too. I used to think it was sweet that they got along. They laughed together. They teased each other. Sometimes I even felt lucky that my husband respected my mother so much. But respect doesn't look like secret phone calls in the middle of the night. After that, I started noticing small things. She called him more than she called me. If something broke in her house, she asked him to fix it. If she felt lonely, she asked him to come over for tea. Even when I was at work. When I questioned it, he'd say, "She's your mother. I'm just helping." Then one evening, I came home early from work. The house was empty. His phone was on the table. I wasn't trying to spy. I just wanted to call him and ask where he was. But when I picked up the phone, a message popped up. From my mother. "Miss you already." My hands went cold. I read it over and over, trying to find an innocent meaning. Maybe she meant she missed talking. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe grief, because my grandmother was very sick at the time, was making everyone cling to each other. I didn't confront him. I told myself trust is stronger than suspicion. Then my grandmother died. The house was filled with relatives and the smell of incense. My mother cried loudly, dramatically. Sammy never left her side. He held her shoulders. He brought her water. At one point, I saw him holding her hand, not briefly, not comfortingly, but intimately. His thumb moved gently across her fingers. That's when the silence inside me started turning into something heavier. The night before the funeral, I couldn't sleep. I walked into the kitchen for water and heard voices. My mother's voice was low. Sammy's voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. She said, "We have to be careful." He replied, "I know." I stood there in the dark hallway, feeling like I was watching my own life from outside my body. The next day, while everyone was preparing for the funeral, I made a decision. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw things. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to know the truth. I drove to my mother's house while Sammy thought I was at the florist. I had a key. When I walked in, the house smelled like her jasmine perfume. Everything looked normal until I walked into her bedroom. On the chair beside her bed was Sammy's jacket, the one he said he lost weeks ago. And on her bedside table was a photo of the three of us, except the frame had been replaced. It was just the two of them now. Cropped. Me removed. That was the moment the last piece of denial died. I didn't cry. I didn't break anything. I took the jacket, took the photo, and left. At the funeral, the family gathered around my grandmother's grave. The air was heavy. My mother stood in black, pretending to be the grieving daughter. Sammy stood beside her, not me. When it was time for people to speak, I stepped forward. My voice was steady. I said, "Grandma always taught us that family is sacred. That loyalty is everything." She believed betrayal was the deepest sin. Everyone listened. My mother avoided my eyes. Sammy looked confused. I held up the photo. I learned this week that sometimes betrayal doesn't come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the two people you trust the most. The silence was loud. I placed Sammy's jacket at my mother's feet. "I hope Grandma forgives you both." "I won't." Gasps spread through the crowd. My mother's face drained of color. Sammy tried to speak, but there was nothing he could say that would undo what everyone now understood. I didn't yell. I didn't insult them. I simply told the truth. And then I walked away. That day, I lost a husband. I lost a mother. But I found something I didn't know I still had, my dignity. Healing wasn't fast. There were nights I cried until my pillow was soaked. There were days I questioned what I missed, how I didn't see it sooner. But over time, I realized something important. Their betrayal was a reflection of their emptiness, not my worth. Today, I live alone in the same small brick house. It's quieter now. Sometimes the silence feels lonely, but it's honest. And I would rather have an honest silence than a house full of lies. If you were in my place, would you have exposed them? Or would you have walked away quietly? Tell me in the comments. And if you believe dignity is more powerful than revenge, don't forget to subscribe.